Hello everybody, welcome to the Fundamental Analysis webinar. My name is Troy. I'll be presenting for AvaTrade. As we're getting started, let's do a quick systems check. If you would, just type OK in the chat box if you're hearing me clearly and seeing my screen all right. All right, great. It looks like we're up and running fine, thank you. If anyone has any issues as we go along, please feel free to let me know. As always, keep in mind that trading has risk. You have a risk of loss with each and every trade that you take. The other side of that is there's a good potential for profit with each and every trade that you take, and that's really what we're hoping to improve upon, obviously, with our sessions. Keep in mind that what we cover is not meant to be financial advisement, but is coming from an educational perspective. And as we go along, we're going to go over some ideas that relate to risk management, and we'll go over some special tools that are available to help you with that on our web trader platform and the AvaTrade Go mobile app as we go through our trading strategies and the fundamental news. Good morning, Matthew. Thank you for joining. Now, real quick, before we get to the live news and the live charts and such, what is fundamental analysis? For those of you that are new to things, basically it's the news. It's a couple different types. We kind of divide it up to, but it's the news as it comes in. Some are what we refer to as regular economic events. We've got news coming in regarding unemployment figures, PMI numbers, production numbers, etc. And those are scheduled announcements on any economic schedule. You can find it. There's one available on our platform to look at. Those are easier to account for in terms of timing and scope. Which instruments would it affect the most? Those are a bit easier to plan for. The other type of fundamental news we might refer to as extraordinary economic news. This would be something like a breaking headline that you had no idea was coming, that's about some issue that moves the market, within a minute or two of the headline hitting, and maybe controls the sentiment for the day because of how big the headline was. That happens on occasion. And so within your trading strategies, you can be ready for that as well with properly placed pending orders. A lot of times buy stop and sell stop pending orders at strategic price levels on different instruments, just waiting for price levels to break through and trigger those pending orders with maybe some unexpected big headline. And so that's another type of fundamental news, is the extraordinary kind that you can't account for the timing of it so much, but you can still be ready for it if it happens. And we'll look at some ideas maybe of that if we have time. And so if you have any questions as we go along, if you want to give any input, please do that. I'm happy to share ideas and information that you might have to share or answer questions. Now, before we get on the web trader and the AvaTrade Go app to take a look at how we can go through our fundamental analysis and technical analysis along with it, strategies, let's look, what is the sentiment today? And I like to get a feel for the fundamental news and the fundamental sentiment of the day just with quick headlines. And you can use a number of websites and locations, but here we see European stocks higher, banking sector and Bank of England in focus. Okay, so that sounds somewhat positive, but also tentative, because there's a focus on the Bank of England today, waiting for information, waiting for news. And so that headline tells you, okay, not stellar sentiment in the positive, but more positive than negative. And then we go to the next headline, and we see Fed's Powell and the European Central Bank's Lagarde tell the markets, hold your rate hike horses. Okay, so there's fear from investors, from stockholders and on Wall Street, etc., that maybe interest rates will be raised to stave off some of the inflation fears. Gas prices are rising, housing prices, grocery prices, faster than maybe most people are comfortable with. And that's partially because of all the stimulus measures and ultra low interest rates, all the easy money that's been handed out to try and get out of the pandemic crisis. That's kind of created some inflation fears. And so now the markets liked all those low interest rates and stimulus measures, and it helped new highs be reached with the stock markets around the world. But there's fear that now they'll start to raise the rates and take away these stimulus measures, and to calm the markets, these leaders have said basically, hey, we're not going to raise interest rates anytime soon. So they're saying just hold your horses on that, trying to calm the markets, because there was talk yesterday about the U.S. Tapering back their bond buying program, which is another stimulus measure that's been helping to prop up the U.S. economy. And so because of fears of that, we saw gold pull back yesterday. We saw some of the major indices pull back, and we talked about that on Tuesday, that might happen because of that exact reason. The talk about tapering some of the stimulus measures, the bond buying program in the U.S. And so because that fear is there and the markets were kind of pulling down a little, you get these headlines now coming from Powell and Lagarde saying, we're not going to raise rates anytime soon. You notice they're not saying, or Powell is not saying we're not going to taper the bond buying program soon, because I think they are potentially going to do that. But he's at least trying to say we're not going to raise interest rates anytime soon. So interesting situation, which kind of feeds into the sentiment today. Little bit positive. That's a somewhat positive headline, saying we're not going to raise the rates yet. Positive if you're investing in stocks in the stock market. Maybe negative if you don't want prices to rise, because low rates tend to allow prices to rise faster, inflation. But that's the situation. The markets like that a little bit, so it's slightly positive today. Next headline, what are we looking at here? Eurozone producer prices make record jump in September. Well, now this is exactly what we're talking about, inflation, right? This is why there's the fear that the interest rates might be raised soon. This is why the bond buying program is maybe going to be tapered off in the US, because prices are rising faster than many are comfortable with. And so here's another headline about that. Eurozone producer prices make record jump. Okay, and so have housing prices and grocery prices and gas prices. This is what happens when you inject a lot of easy free money into the economy with stimulus and you have ultra low interest rates. Sometimes you get more inflation than what you want. And that's what this headline is saying. And I think that's what's putting the reins on the positive momentum today. It's not like the volatility index dropped a huge amount or something. There's still some fear there, but we're slightly positive today. If we look here, we see the volatility index, the VIX down here, the VIX volatility index that measures, many times it's referred to as the fear index. So it's a measurement of fear or volatility on the markets, and it's down slightly. And that fits right into what the headlines are telling us. Slightly positive, not overly positive, and a little bit of fear there still. So the volatility index is down slightly, but not much. It's not like there's huge positive momentum today. And you see that in the futures here. Okay, these green numbers are yesterday's close in the US. The US 30 and the S&P 500, US 500 closed in the green yesterday. The futures now, the US 30 and US 500, they've been running since midnight. The futures run 24 hours a day. Once the markets open Friday and until they close on, or I'm sorry, open on Sunday night, Monday morning, and close on Friday. So the futures are running now, even though the U.S. market's not open yet. We see U.S. 30 is slightly red, U.S. 500 is slightly green, not big momentum either direction in terms of sentiment. And we see that. It makes sense. Slightly green, slightly red, volatility down a hair. The headlines are somewhat positive, but also we've got some negative fears about inflation. It's all there for you. It's like reading a book. It's very clear to see. It looks like there could be ranging movements today with that type of sentiment. It's not overly positive, or markets probably won't be flying up and breaking resistance levels and going to record highs really fast, at least not with the current sentiment could change through the day. And also maybe not overly negative, breaking support levels and plunge, right? So maybe a good day to find some good technical entry points and bank on ranging movements. Ranging meaning going up and back down, between an upper range and a lower range. This type of sentiment usually leads to those types of movements, barring any breaking unexpected headlines, right, that change the sentiment potentially, which you prepare for with your stop loss and your risk management, etc. Okay, let's take a look then at how can we go about using this information on our trading platforms, and we'll focus on the AvaTrade Go mobile app, which you can find here, by the way, and we'll focus on our web trader platform to look at some strategies for maybe taking advantage of what's happening today. So trading platforms, if you're on your mobile device, I don't mean right now, but you could go to AvaTrade Go. It's under our trading platforms, and you can download AvaTrade Go from the major app stores. And there's a link here that'll take you to your app store, or you can just go to your app store and search for AvaTrade Go, and you'll find it. The reason I say you should have this app if you're trading on your mobile device, as opposed to maybe the MT4, MT5 mobile app, this app will trade right on top of your MT4 or MT5 account with us, but has very useful risk management tools, fundamental analysis tools, technical analysis, signals and tools, all built into the app that you don't have on the MetaTrader app, okay, or the MetaTrader platform. So you see AvaProtect, and I'm going to show you here actually live version how the app functions and how you can take advantage of some of the functionality on it. So I just need to connect. Looks like I got disconnected. I'll just pause for 1 minute and just take a 1 minute break, and I'm going to get my phone screen up, okay? I'll put you on pause. Okay, apologies, my phone timed out on me, so I had to just set it back up again. If you would type okay in the chat box if you're still with me and you're seeing my phone screen all right. All right, great. I've got enough responses. Thank you. So once you log into the AvaTrade Go mobile app, this is what it looks like. And there's some important features I want to show you that will help you with your strategies as you move along. And so let's take a look at something that would maybe fit today's fundamental news situation, and then we'll see what would make sense in terms of the moves. And so first of all, an easy way to start is to go to one of the advanced features, which you find down here on this tab here. And as I scroll through the options, I'll see market buzz, featured ideas, analyst views. And if I go to something like analyst views, we've got free signals coming in, and they're time-stamped. They are a mix of cryptocurrencies and regular currency pairs. And so I can scroll down on this, and look for something that might relate to how I understand the fundamental news today. And so we're looking at USD, Mexican peso, Euro, Swiss franc, USD ZAR, and we saw that the US dollar was strengthening slightly today. The US dollar index, when we were looking, was strengthening. And so we might be looking for something to do with the USD. Also, we understand that some of the fundamental news coming in today could affect the pound, with the Bank of England with some information coming out, and some large announcements coming out on the USD. So we might want to look for a USD pairing. We also might want to look for something that involves the pound. And so here we find the Great Britain pound, Japanese yen. So if we tap on that, we get a breakout of or a breakdown of the technical analysis of what is expected to happen. And so we see 155.97 is our pivot point. Preference is the downside prevails as long as 155.97 is resistance. So 155.97 is up here. As long as that is still resistance, meaning it didn't break above it, then this downward move is what's expected to happen. And so we take a look at some more of it. The upside breakout of 155.97, meaning if it breaks the resistance up here, it's telling us would call for a move higher towards 156.80 if it broke this resistance with unexpected news like we talked about. So we could be looking at the Great Britain pound, Japanese yen, and saying, okay, they've got big fundamental news coming out from the Bank of England. We're not sure what they'll say. We think maybe the pound will strengthen based on this signal, but or weaken, I'm sorry, based on this signal, but it could strengthen and come up and break. Now, if they're expected to keep the interest rates low, right? And we saw that headline, hold your interest rate horses, basically implying they're not going to raise interest rates, right? So then that would, not raising interest rates would in general have a general effect of keeping the currency weak, right? And so maybe that's why it's expected to drop against the yen towards the support level. And why the yen? Well, there's a little bit of fear out there about inflation, and the yen tends to strengthen when there's economic fear. It's somewhat of a safe haven currency. And so this pairing makes sense fundamentally today, okay? And if all goes wrong and you're doing a sell position and it goes up and breaks this resistance, maybe they raise the rate unexpectedly, that other type of news, unexpected news, then if it had enough momentum to break this resistance, you could have a pending buy stop pending order here to buy, if indeed it goes up and verifies upward momentum by breaking above. And that's what they're telling you here. The upside breakout, and they're giving you the price level, okay, up above 156. And that it could run another, 80 pips up or something. So this is the signal, and it fits our fundamental news. The announcements coming out of the Bank of England that they're expected to keep interest rates low. That should keep the pound weaker with that type of announcement. A little bit of inflation fear that should have the pound or the yen maybe a little bit stronger. And so the signal makes sense. The technical analysis is there. So now we can go back, right? And go to the GBP JPY and place our trade, right? And so if we have it in our favorites list, it would be here, right? Or we can search for it very simply on the app. We can bring up GBP JPY. And what I'm trying to show you here is you can do all of your technical analysis with help from free signals. Your fundamental analysis doesn't take long to do, and be ready to go after trades. And I want to show you the risk management features here also that will help you out. So if I'm looking for, I mistyped it. No wonder it's not coming up. There it is, GBP JPY. Have to spell it right first. Okay, then we see, here's our chart, and you can zoom in, zoom out to find your price levels. You see, indeed, it's been dropping on the 1 minute candles. if I want to switch, go to 5-minute or 15-minute to some other candles, we'll get a bigger picture view. Again, I can shrink the screen just by pinching on it, and you see the downtrend. Had you looked at that signal earlier, look how far in the money you'd already be. It's so predictable, and you see that signal came in down the list a little ways, right? An hour or two back. So you could already be in the money. It doesn't mean it's too late, by the way. So we take a look at, let's say, 1 hour candles. And we see it has not reached the support level down where we see this line down here. You see where I put that line? We don't see that it reached that price down around 154.6, let's say. So it has a ways that it could continue to drop if that's the direction it's going. So let's say you wanted to make a trade on this, and let's say you want to sell based on the signal, based on the fundamental news. You have some options. You can, using the app or the web trader platform, you can go ahead and put AvaProtect on it. Okay, and so AvaProtect, you can protect by the hour, you can protect by multiple hours, by the day, and you see the price changes a little. If I know there are major announcements today that could really move the pound, and I'm expecting that news to be low interest rates and the pound to weaken, we see it's already weakening, maybe I say, okay, if I have 12 hours protection, that'll get me through the announcements and enough time for it to run. My risk on a 10,000 value, 10,000 GBP value position, I only have to pay $46 approximately for that 12 hours of protection. If it goes flying the wrong way, doesn't matter how far during my protected time period, during that 12 hours of protection, any negative gets added back to my account once the protection ends. Then I could put a stop loss or something like that after the protection pays me for any negative, and the trade can keep running. And so very cool feature. You can protect by the day as well. So it depends what you're looking to do. And sometimes to go from 6 hours protection to 1 day or 2 days, there's almost not much change in the cost. So you could protect even longer for almost no additional cost. And as the trade size goes up, obviously the cost of the protection would too, but so would your potential profit. And that's what we're looking for, obviously, is a profit that makes sense for you. So if I go down and I program my take profit, right? Let's say I think the price could go up to a certain level based on the chart. If I look at it and I draw some lines, then as I enter my take profit price, right, 150, immediately we see potential profit. Okay, and depending on what you see on the chart, you can go back and put a price that makes sense to you. 152, right? 154. You see 110 potential profit. Maybe I think it'll go to 153. And I'm looking, I say, wow, it's 200 approximately potential profit. It's calculating it for me. This is what I was talking about, the risk management of the app and the web trader. It's calculating it for me, my potential profit. And my risk is with the protection is just what I pay up front. That's it. For that 12 hours or that day or that 2 days, my risk is capped, and my potential profit in this case is much, much more. Right? So very cool. If you're not using the protection and you prefer just to put a stop loss, it'll calculate your stop loss risk as well. Okay? You put your stop loss a certain distance away, and you know what your risk is to that stop loss and what your potential profit is before you confirm that you want to sell on something or buy on something. All right. Yet, Philip, the protection is for as far as it would go the wrong way, if it went the wrong way, not just to a certain price. But yeah, it's for 12 hours in the example I had when I was showing you, but it could be for a different length of time too. And there's no limit on how far it could go the wrong way and pay you for the losses. No, nothing's frozen, Matthew. Maybe it's on your side, but everything's working fine here. Okay, so I could confirm the sell if I wanted and go after this trade, okay? Now, let's go ahead, and I want to show you these features as well that involve fundamental news. And so let me go back to the home page, and let's say we want to go down here, click on the tab, and what help do I have with fundamental news from the web trader and from the app? And so what I'm doing is I'm going to Market Buzz. You see that right here, Market Buzz. And this is focused mainly on stocks, by the way. And you see there's only one category there, stocks. So right away, we see the ones that have the most news volume about them. Apple, Flow Capital, Infinity, Facebook, etc. If we click on one of these, okay, I tapped on Amazon. It brings up some information about, is the trading positive on Amazon right now? Is it negative? You see that at the top, 62% positive, 10% may fall. And so let's take a look and see articles here, right? Here's an article that is stamped with Amazon showing on it. So if we tap on that, it takes you to a snippet of what the article's about. And if you want more information, if you want the whole story, you click on Story Continues. Takes you to the website that has that article. You can just, there's a pop-up, get rid of it. I'm blocking that website from giving me pop-ups. And there it is. There's the article. Amazon Incorporated, insider Jeffrey Bezos sells 50,000 shares. If you're ready to trade on Amazon today, you just got the most up-to-date information about Amazon right there from the app. That's a big deal. Bezos sold 50,000 shares, and you can read the article and see what's going on with Amazon. So the fundamental news is right there in the app and on our web trader platform as well. Works the same way. So then I can just tap back, and it takes me back to the app. Okay, just like that. It never logged me out of my app. And I've got all of that outside information being pulled right in from AvaTrade Go app and from the web trader. So it helps you with your fundamental news. Now I know, and I might never have found that article just surfing the internet. I wouldn't have known to look for Amazon, but there it was. I saw an article for Amazon, pulled it up. Now I'm ready for the market to open in the US so I can trade on the stocks, because they're not traded on the futures with AvaTrade. The stocks aren't. So the indices are, but the individual stocks aren't. So we need to wait for the market to open, and maybe we want to analyze the chart for Amazon right now. Okay, and maybe we'll do that not using the app. Let's spend a little time on the web trader. So I'm going to get rid of this, leave the meeting, and now we're back on our website. And if I log in here, I'll be in the web trader platform, which looks like I didn't log in yet here. So let me just pull this over. I'll log in. I'm just logging in from this side because the password and stuff didn't want it to show. 1 second. And there we are. So let me bring that back over. And there's our web trader. All I did was log in from our main website, and there it is. And it'll, if you choose, you can have it save your account information, and in no time you're on the web trader platform. And I'll show you over here the same features: Trading Central, Economic Calendar, Featured Ideas, Analyst Views, and Market Buzz is what we were looking at. Okay, and so we saw that story about Amazon, Bezos selling 50,000 shares. And I would probably take the time to read the whole article, right, before I'd actually decide if I want to trade on Amazon. But that's maybe a negative news story about Amazon. And maybe it's because there are supply chain fears. We all know there have been supply chain problems in the US and around the world, and they're expecting that it could cause major issues with the Christmas season. And so Maybe Bezos is anticipating some negative news because of the supply chain crunch, and Amazon's like one of the biggest suppliers that does well at Christmas time. And if there's a negative news story because of the supply chain problem, it could affect Amazon largely. Maybe that's why he did that. He dumped before the Christmas season hits, and his supply chain becomes more of a crisis than it already is. Whatever the fundamental reason is, we see he sold a huge amount of shares of Amazon. And yeah, Bezos is no dummy, right? The richest people in the world, maybe. So we're looking then, let's find Amazon. Let's look at the chart. Again, easy search tool, just like the app. We bring up Amazon. The chart comes up automatically. When I brought Amazon up, I can add Amazon to my favorites list, just like this. Okay, check the star on this side. Now, if I go to my favorites, I'll find Amazon in my favorites list. Okay, in the order I added them. So Amazon's at the bottom. Okay, here's the Amazon chart. I can either slide this up or just expand full screen. And actually, I have to click on Amazon again. There's the chart, and let me expand it. So here's Amazon, and this is 1 minute candles. We see an uptrend on the 1 minute candles yesterday, and then it kind of capped itself here. And at the end of the day, it was coming down slightly. Okay, so we could deem, and let's go maybe to 5 minute candles or 15 minute to get a better view of the time frames over time. So what we see here, and this is interesting, price line, very easy to draw lines. Again, I just went here, clicked on price line, and this is where it stopped yesterday. Okay, right about there, this line. And then we look across and we say, wow, that was an old support level. You see here, support, support, and up. Okay, then from Friday, right, last Friday, to the open on Monday, you see the market gapped down. That's a sign of negative momentum, fear. The market gapped down on Amazon the last time it opened. And actually, this is yesterday. This is where it closed. I'm looking at 15-minute candles. So we're only going back a day. And so we see that the market closed down here, and we move forward. No, actually, I was right. This is multiple days. We see Friday down here. Makes it easy. The chart gives you the day. So we see the gap from last week coming into this week. And you'll get a gap over the weekend and also from day to day. This was from Thursday to Friday last week. And then this is from Friday to Monday. We see Saturday here. Stocks don't trade over the weekend. So this is the actual gap from the weekend. So leading up to the weekend, it gapped down. It never recovered. And then through the weekend, it gapped down slightly and then dropped. So it continued the negative sentiment from before the weekend, that negative gap where it dropped. Then over the weekend, that's here, from Friday to Monday, it went down immediately when the market opened further, matching the bottom that it hit with this gap here. Okay, so we would say maybe there's support down here below this gap from Thursday to Friday, and then into this week through the weekend, it retested that level. So we got support down here. And then today it ran up, or I'm sorry, yesterday it ran up, and we're waiting today for the US market to open. Okay, and it's interesting that this price level is where it stopped yesterday, and that's at the old support level here from before this big drop. Okay, so the question is, the momentum today, would it be negative or positive on Amazon? And we're thinking about supply chain problems maybe leading into Christmas. We're thinking about Bezos just dumped 50,000 shares, right? And we're probably leaning with the fundamentals that there's maybe some negative momentum here, okay? Philip, I'm not sure if you have some problems with your screen. Things seem to be okay here. I'm going to ask, type okay if you're seeing my screen. Good still? Someone else is complaining that the screen is flickering. Everything's okay. All right, thank you. So, all right, so we have this setup that when the US market opens, when the US market opens, we might be looking to see what happens with Amazon. Does it refill this whole gap here? Because many times instruments will try to refill gaps. And we see there's a gap from here to here from last week. And we see it's entered that gap. So I see a couple things you could do here that would match technicals and fundamentals. So one thing would be have a pending order. Once the market opens, place your pending order up here below the top of this gap, because if a pending order to sell from up here is placed, then if the market happens to rise at the open, you sell from the top of this gap, which is a natural resistance point. And fundamentally, why would you want to sell if it reaches the top of this gap? Because the fundamentals say 50,000 shares being sold by Bezos and supply chain potential problems leading into Christmas. Maybe that resistance level up here would hold, and maybe a sell makes sense fundamentally. Okay, so the other thing that could happen is it doesn't go up and test. And if we just see that it starts dropping at the open, you could do a market sell and get your stop loss up above the gap, above the top of the gap, because you'd be banking on the fact that there shouldn't be enough momentum to refill and break the top of that gap based on the fundamental news that we see right now. Kind of a flat sentiment today, but specific negative sentiment for Amazon, more so than the rest of the general market. And so you'd be leaning in terms of sentiment on Amazon, maybe to the sell side based on the fundamental news that we looked at. And you have to just wait for the market to open before you can place the pending orders or make a market move. Okay. And by the way, I'm not here to tell you should sell on Amazon. If you want to buy, by all means, you can buy on Amazon. But the fundamentals tell us, hey, it's kind of negative when someone famous and rich, that everyone looks at their investments, announces that, hey, sold 50,000 shares of your company. And that's what happened with Amazon. So we could be looking then, if the market starts to rise a bit, pending order to sell from this resistance level, the top of the gap. And also you could look at a market move if you want to sell and get your stop loss up above the top of this gap would be a spot that might make sense, because that's a natural resistance to keep your stop loss from being hit. And if it does break back above the gap, well, then the sentiment must be positive for whatever reason. Okay, and then maybe that's a spot where you have a measured risk, and if it breaks through the top of the gap, hey, you admit you were wrong and move on to the next opportunity with a limited risk. And where would your potential take profit be? We drew down here the support level. Okay, support, support, support. So the potential profit on a market sell, if it opens here, is about 2 to 3 times what you're risking to get above the top of the gap. Let's say 2 to 1 risk to the top of the gap compared to potential profit from the current mark down to the support. That's a nice setup technically, and the fundamentals are on your side with that. Okay. Okay, some of you had to restart your system on your side to fix your freezing problems. I didn't think we had the problem here, but it is possible on occasion. Okay, so any questions with what we've looked at, how to use the fundamental tools within the web trader, within the AvaTrade Go app? As you saw, we quickly found that there's big news on Amazon from the fundamental news tool within our platform and app. We're able to pull up, do the technical analysis, draw our price lines, and have a plan for when the market opens now that makes sense fundamentally and technically. And yes, you can look at as many signals as you want on the cryptos and the Forex pairings from the analyst views. We looked at one GBP JPY, right? So absolutely, someone's asking, can we look at GBP JPY on the big screen here? And yes, we can. GBP JPY. I spelled it right this time. And there's the bigger screen. Scroll back a bit, and we see the downtrend continuing. Had you placed the trade when we were looking at it in the app, it dropped even further since then. And so how do we keep being right in these examples? Because we looked at the fundamental news first, and that's the whole point of this webinar. We're looking at the fundamental news, and you're not going to be right every time. but you certainly should be able to be right more often than if you didn't look at the fundamental news. And you see this drop, and for the whole time we've been talking now, it's been dropping further, GBP, JPY. And so fundamentally, we predicted this would happen, and it's occurring. Now, the only question is, where would you want to take your profit? And I do see a support level down here. Let's maybe go to 30-minute candles. Okay, it's approaching a support level now, right? Right, there's a spot where you might predict you could get a bounce, because we see this was support here, and it went flying up. So this could easily hit this price level here, and because of this, take a little bounce. It doesn't mean it won't keep dropping and break the support, but that's a spot if you're scalping where you might say, okay, the fundamental news is on my side before it has a chance to change, before the actual announcements come out from the Bank of England today. Before that happens, maybe I take my profit just at this support level now, right? Or if you're a longer term trader, then you're looking at bigger candles, 4-hour candles, 1-day candles, and I'm looking at a support level then down lower. Maybe, whoops, let me close that. Let me get a new line. And maybe I'm looking at a support level down here, okay? That's a support level that's further back in time on the larger candles, and that would be a much further drop. If it breaks this little support here, that's the next spot, okay? And by the way, you could take profit on this one if you already were selling, and then put a pending order that if it breaks the support, you get in on a second move to drop to the next support level. You could go step by step. And to do a pending order, it's very simple. Let's see, 154.60. I could say if it hits that price, then it broke the support, and I'll get in with a take profit at the next line. So 154.60, I can very easily say, okay, let me go to GBP, JPY, sell, pending order. You just put execute when price hits. We said 154.60, right? That's it. I don't even have to tell it what kind of pending order. It does it automatically on our web trader platform and AvaTrade Go. On other platforms, you have to know, is it a buy stop, a sell stop, a buy limit, a sell limit? Very simple here. I know I'm selling. I tell it what price I want to sell from. I can tell it a take profit and a stop loss and have it ready to go. Okay, very simple, based on fundamentals and technicals. Any questions before we end things here? We've been going for a good 40 minutes, even longer. I don't want to keep you too long. You've got the idea here. Maybe a little negative sentiment on GBP because of the idea that they're going to keep interest rates low. That tends to weaken a currency. In general, kind of flat sentiment on the day on other things. And we've got reason to think we want to look at Amazon when the market opens. And that's just in this few instruments we looked at. Look through the signals. Look through the market buzz at other stocks, the other articles, and you'll find just because the first article we looked at looks good for selling on Amazon, maybe, you might find something on Facebook or some other stock that also you're interested in, or maybe some European stocks, UK stocks, etc., that you could trade on already. Okay, I don't see any questions popping up. Thank you for joining. I hope it was helpful to maybe better manage the tools on the AvaTrade Go and the web trader to actually carry out your fundamental analysis and your technical analysis all in one shot without really having to leave our platforms much. And it doesn't hurt. I also pulled up articles from other websites to get an idea as well. It's, you're not just limited to one thing, but there's a lot to offer within these platforms for your fundamental analysis and technical analysis. All right, everybody, you're welcome. Thank you for joining. Have a good rest of the week and weekend, and I'll be back at it Tuesday evening with my next session, okay? All right, until then, good luck with your trading. Bye for now.